They come in, you know, with views of pasture on either side, and there's kind of a gatehouse, small little lodge here that is kind of the signature architectural style that is a preview of what the architecture of the lodge will be. And then you pass over what will be the Wallace Bridge, which will be a stone arched bridge. That will be something very special and signature to Wallace Bridge. You come up through a beautiful woodland here, up onto the crest of the hill, and at this point you can then see the vision of the lodge ahead of you. Now, in addition to the lodge, which will have, you know, it sits at the brow of the hill, and it will have gardens that terrace down the hill. On these terraces, you'll be able to sit out here and watch horses ride by on the trails down below you. And it will have its own gardens and recreation amenities to it, and its own parking area. But we'll have permanent stables over here. These will be more for the horses that are part of the hunt and that are permanent residents. This is the area for the horses that come and go. This is not a real large stables, but it'll be a very nice stables. Now, also in conjunction with the hunt, we'll have a pack of hounds. And so we also have kennels over here. And we went down and rode with the Santa Fe hunt and met with the master of the hounds and learned all about hounds and what they need. And it's interesting because, you know, in this country, probably the biggest nuisance is coyotes. And that was the same thing that was true down there out of Temecula where we rode, was the coyotes. And so hounds, interestingly enough, are trained to hunt certain animals and ignore other animals. So they don't go chasing a bunny trail. They don't go chasing deer, elk, or other things like that. They're trained coyotes. That's what they hunt. And so we are, you know, quite sure that they'll find a few around here. So that's the place for the hounds, and kind of a little village of support services. The blacksmith and things like that will have, you know, some permanent housing there. We also envision an equine spa that people can take their horses to and have a full service spa treatment for their horses after they've competed like the people want to do there's a new thing in spas that people will pay you extra money just to be around a horse, and they'll shovel the stalls and pay for it, and pay me. So the site has some contour to it, and we have some drainage corridors. So we envision, you know, in those drainage corridors, developing some water features, a pond, certainly a pond in the stream corridor above Wallace Bridge, and this is the other major drainage corridor. Both of those come down to the stream here. We have an area in the easement here where horses on a hunt could cross over, and all of this land up here we envision having open for the hunt at certain times. Hunting typically goes in the fall and winter months when they're not, you know, doing the crops, and the crops have all been harvested and things like that. So JW's, you know, been talking to the landowners up here in, you know, keeping them appraised of the progress of our plans. We have a south lodge here, and we have a number of pastures throughout the site because we want to still keep this feeling like a horse farm, not just a big dry showgrounds, but really a horse park that horses get to live in as well as compete in. So that's kind of the overall vision where we're at right now. And this is going to be something that keeps us engaged for, you know, a while as we develop all this. And, you know, part of what keeps us going is the vision that one of the next times we hope to all gather here together is for a groundbreaking ceremony. Mm-hmm. And we want all of you to be here for that as our supporters, and I think we'll break out the champagne then. So, JW, I'll let you take that over.
You know, as far as the economic impact of something like this, you're going to be, I'll have Dick Brainerd, the biologist, come up and talk here in a minute. But when he was out here, Dick, there you are. Remember, didn't you go into lunch for Wilhelmina one day? Yeah. Now, I don't know if he went to the Wildwood or not. But they said, oh, there's got to be more. Then he went into Sheridan and he goes, oh my goodness. And you could imagine 3,000 to 5,000 people here, what the economic impact will be to the surrounding communities. It's not only Sheridan, Willamina, but it's Salem, it's Dallas, it's Independence, it's McMinnville, it's Portland. Because, Linda, wasn't there somebody that stayed at the Benson that were out on Parrot Mountain with a big show? Where's Linda? There was a big show of they had a horse show up on Parrot Mountain, and they stayed down at the Benson in Portland, quite a ways away.
Is that the Morgan show?
The Morgan show.
Yeah.
So what we have to do, this won't happen unless I can get the easement modified, if it makes sense. So I have to modify the existing conservation easement, and that's where these people come in. I don't know how long that takes, when they'll get it done. And then I also have to work with Polk County for all land use and building permits. All the equine activities are allowed in an EFU zone. Things that are not include the lodge, okay? And Mike Rupp can talk about that too. And we're going to work with ODOT because safe and secure access to highways 18 and 22. I'll go to the next one. And I'm going to have Dick Brainerd talk here a minute. But it increases, most of this land, I don't know if you guys can see, all this land right out here is upland land. It didn't even qualify to be in a wetland area. Over half the land in the federal easement didn't even qualify. But these people that had a pet project that they wanted to do an upland savanna. What qualified was the land down here, okay? So what we do is we increase the wetland habitat by 25%, and we also, the land that qualifies it, we increase it by 80%. We also preserve every single rare plant, and we actually increase it. Nothing there's no fill, there's no mitigation. All plants are protected. And we more than triple the length of all the streams. We give them 2 miles of stream, and that empties into the Yamhill River. Right now, if they do not get these 2 pieces, which are owned by the Kirkhams right now, they'll probably be sold for residences and still have cattle. And the cattle, if you protect this part of the stream, but you don't protect this, or this, or this, your stream restoration doesn't do a lot of work. What I'd like to do is have Dick Brainerd come up and talk about it. Dick, I don't know if you want to give him your background at all, or you don't want to tell him everything, though.
No, probably not. Hi, I'm Dick Brainerd. I work with Carrick's working group. My background is I've been a botanist here in the Willamette Valley for about 20 years, doing rare plant surveys, habitat assessments, wetland delineations, and various kinds of natural resource planning work. JW hired us to take a look at both the existing easement, which is this area here, and to look at the area that he's proposed to modify the easement by adding this and this and on these neighboring properties, and take this one out of the easement so that he can use it for his facility. So we were basically hired to compare these areas and give him an idea of what the benefits or costs might be of making the modification. So we came in here and we did rare plant surveys over the entire area, including the area that is currently in easement and will stay in easement. We found the previously existing rare plant populations that have been documented here, and we found a couple of more sites for rare plants that were unknown. All of those fall within the plan for the modified easement. We also looked at habitat condition and at the condition of the restoration work that's been done in this area that would come out of the easement. So just a brief thumbnail of what we found. I think one of the big benefits that I can see is bringing all of this stream corridor in under the easement and under conservation management. It does 2 things. It brings in corridor that's in really nice condition, nice overstory cover, good stream shading. It's keeping that stream cool, buffering it from pollution that might be coming off both the highway and off the adjacent agricultural lands. And there's a nice corridor up in here too on Kirkham's property. It also brings in an area right here that's really hammered by cattle. The cattle are right down in the creek. The banks are collapsing. getting a lot of sediment and fecal matter going into the creek, and that's having downstream effects all the way down into the Yamhill and beyond. And we do have fish issues here. We've got steelhead, which is a federally listed species. We have cutthroat trout using this stream. So I think that brings that up in, as a high priority. In addition, there are tributary drainages here, here, and here. This one feeds out directly to the Yamhill, this one into the main stream here. And again, these are protecting stream resources, and at the same time, particularly up here, we've got cows down in the stream really hammering. And so to get cattle off of here and get some restoration going on in there, I think it's going to be a benefit to stream quality on the site and on down the drainage.
Excuse me, can I get a clarification? I'm sorry to interrupt, but you're talking about the cattle. Is that under the subject property, or is that adjacent, different ownership property?
That's a different ownership property.
Okay, and the owners are okay with that, or is that to be dealt with in the future?
I'll let you speak to that.
What was the question?
The cattle that need to be moved, are the owners of that land okay with that? Have you had a chance to talk to them about that?
Okay, it's a complicated thing, but if we get the easement modification approved, the property will be we're going to have, it's not going to work, Ken. We will end up acquiring that property, and the cattle will be removed at that time.
Oh, okay.
So there's some federal rules that I have to meet, having to do with the 7-year rule and stuff. They don't want me to speculate with property, but we will end up acquiring the property, and the property will be put into the easement. The cattle will not be there. The Kirkhams and they won't own the property anymore.
Okay.
Okay, the second point is staying on rare species. We have 2 federally listed plant species documented from the existing easement. We have up here we have Willamette Valley daisy, which is federally listed as threatened, and then in the stream corridor down here we've got Nelson's checkermallow, which is federally listed as threatened. In addition, we found additional plants of the Nelson's checkermallow down here in the stream corridor and up along here on the Kirkham property. And then we also found a third species. It's not federally listed, but it's called a federal species of concern. It's kind of a watch list. And that's thin-leaf pea vine, which is right in this part of the Kirkham property. So those 3 species would stand to benefit from the easement modification. The other thing we did was we looked at habitat condition and what would be the ramification of making this change, taking this out of the easement and bringing these lands into the easement. Now, first of all, this portion, which has had quite a bit of restoration effort applied to it, unfortunately, there were some periods when there wasn't a great deal of support for maintaining that effort. And this area has been overrun by blackberry, weedy introduced grasses, and Canada thistle, among other weeds. And in my opinion, I don't know what you do with that area to get it back into shape short of just starting over. So we've got most of this area is in pretty poor condition. We've got similar areas up here where we could do similar kinds of restoration, where maybe just basically 6 one, half dozen of the other. On top of that, by making the easement modification, we bring in significantly more wetland area and bottomland hardwood forest area where we could do those kinds of restorations. So I think we come out with a net gain as far as the habitats that are being restored on the site. Add that to the additional rare species and to the additional stream corridor, and I think we have a pretty nice benefit from making the easement modification.
And they end up with more land, just under 4 acres more.
And they gain a little bit more land too.
And Wallace Bridge pays all the costs. No taxpayer funds on that.
Well, doesn't an easement involve transfer of taxpayer funds to the landowner giving up his land for the easement?
when this easement was bought when the Crows did it, they got money.
Right. I thought that was always the case.
Depends. But in this case, there will be use of no more taxpayer money. Wallace Bridge will take care of that. Also, Wallace Bridge has offered, we want the site to be in the condition that it's supposed to be in. Kind of irritates me to sit out here and watch it not maintain and go to hell in a handbasket. And we would like to help maintain it. And we will have 24-hour security, more than likely 24-hour help and equipment. So this could be a huge win-win for the NRCS and the taxpayer, because we would be willing to do that at very low cost, if no cost, because I have an incentive to make sure it looks pristine for what they want. And then the other thing is it could be a great thing for an educational tool. Because right now this easement, only the federal employees can go on it, and myself and whoever I allow on it. What I envision is if we did a fundraiser, the Willamette Valley fundraiser, Willamette Daisy fundraiser. A bunch of botanists get out here. That'd be an exciting party. Yeah, they have the party.
You don't know.
Okay, I'll get them some distilled liquors.
There you go.
And then after we talk about it, let's go out and look at it. How well have we done? And it's a way to, the whole idea of Wallace Bridge is also to interact and allow people to participate in things. This is your chance to see what a Nelson Jekyll Medal looks like. What is a Willamette Daisy? A Willamette Daisy is actually a plant created by man. That would be my, it was created by the Indians burning the valley. But I think it'd be a great educational tool in interaction with the public, and you could actually build a lot of support for the environment and protection of things like this. It could be a showcase. It's one place where we can work together on something and people would actually be able to get access, but secure access that doesn't overrun it.
So one of JW's passions that he didn't mention, and maybe it's evolving, is for conservation and these native habitats. And I've been impressed with that.
Thank you.
Yeah.